You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
That'll be a script. Script reads me.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities.
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble irresponsible, one-sided news stories
Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
more alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Yo, we trade actors, motherfucker.
Hey, good day to you all. Welcome to the new. I'm your host, Randy Perm, and happy Motivated Monday. Well, outside all of that, I hope you all had a great and tremendous weekend. Today we have a very special guest with us, so I'm not going to do too much jaw jacking. And we're going to go right into this very special interview with none other than Tiffani Jones, who was a former California senatorial candidate in the last election cycle. And so I'm going to bring her on here in a minute to discuss her senatorial race and things that went on and all that good jazz.
Hi, Randy. Thank you so much for having me on your show. How are you this Monday?
I am doing well. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. So, Tiffani, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, as you know, I ran for the senatorial seat in the 30th district here in California the last election cycle. I am native primarily to California. I've been here for such a long time, especially Los Angeles. And because I've been here so long, I've just gotten, I've created a love, or I have a very strong love for the community in Los Angeles, especially here, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to run for office. I come from a political background. My family has been in politics for at least 53 years or so. And what I mean by that is my father founded a nonprofit in Dorchester, Massachusetts, which now has a charter school on it. And about 300 residential units that support the community at large. We started out with the Community Development Center that was given to us by the Jewish Women's Health Department, actually their hospital. And we have been very successful for the last 53 years. And that's where I really got a lot of my foundation in terms of politics, because as you know, when you do have a nonprofit, most people, most candidates, Republican or Democrat, come through the community to get endorsements. And so, that was that supported, strongly supported, excuse me, the reason why I ran for office. So in 2015, I decided that's when I wanted to run. I came through the Republican Party because they embraced me more than the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party actually was where I came from. I knew it well, but in order to run successfully, you have to know both parties. So that's what I did. I researched the Republican Party, came through the Republican Party, they embraced me, and I came through the community, understanding that I advocate for the community. That was the most logical way for me to align myself with the Republican Party. So I aligned myself with the party. I quickly in 2016 became a city leader for the presidential election, and was appointed to many positions, board positions in the party. And when 2022, I think I'm sorry, excuse me, we're not even at 2022 yet. In 2020, they called me to run in a special election. And it, excuse me, and this was a district that I had wanted to run in for so long, but I got at that point the call from a member of the California Republican Assembly, who was and is still the president of California, which is Johnny Morgan. Johnny Morgan calls and says, would you like to run in the special election? I said, sure. Did not know at the time that I was only going to do this for 2 months, right? In any election, you think you have at least 2 years, you have all the time to run. That wasn't the case. It was clearly a special election. I did well for the most part. And it afforded me positions such as being a host on a talk show that I now have with TECN and other things. And in addition to that, when I mean other things, is a political action committee, which I started myself after running for office. And here I am today. Thankfully, I don't think I don't know. Running for office is a very brutal process, if you will. I mean, you have your good moments, you have your bad moments, and you need a very strong support system, if you will, if you're going to run. And I think that's what's needed for anyone to run. I had a support system at one time in my campaign, then people left me to go to another side. And at that time, I didn't realize that I wasn't the only one on the ticket. They had brought another person in as well to run. And therefore, I wasn't the only person pulling the majority of the votes for the party. They were split. So it was very, very, like I said, it was a very, very interesting time, considering I only had 2 months.
Yeah, I can imagine it was tough because and like you just mentioned, your party brought in other candidates to split the vote, and it becomes a challenge because you don't want to create any hostility within the party or with the other candidates because you're colleagues at the end of the day. or associates. So it becomes challenging, and I can understand that. Myself as a candidate right now, running for the U.S. House of Representatives for Alaska, we're facing that right now. And fortunately for me, I don't know the other candidates except for the incumbent, and so it is what it is. If the state party wants to put up other candidates, they can have at it. I'm still gonna do me and go from there. But I want to ask you, as a, I'm gonna go into intersectionality here with you because you said some things in your introduction that stood out to me, and so as a black woman in California, you are a Republican. Now we
Yes.
have to address the unicorn in the room, which is you. You're the unicorn in the room because being a black female in California and running in a senatorial race under the Republican banner versus the Democrat banner, I know you probably would looked at sideways by many people of color in the minority community. They was like, "Whoa, what's this?" Did you experience that?
Right. I did, but I didn't because my opponent, the message was, it's time for a black woman to be in the Senate. So um, it wasn't, I don't think it was seen like a ridiculous feat to be that. I think that it was more, it served me better to know that
Mm.
this is what they were looking for as the next candidate to fill that position, or the next person to fill that position. So I didn't experience a lot of that. I didn't experience like, whoa, I did, but I didn't. Let me just say this. I did in the sense that they didn't think I was strong enough to be on the ticket by myself. And then they brought in somebody else that fit the bill, so to speak, for them. And that was fine by me. Some people don't want diversity. Some people want to you, continue to have a image of we are still who we are. We still believe in what we believe. And, although the world is changing, we may not be ready to do that just yet.
Right.
And I understand that diversity is a hard pill to swallow for most people if you're not accustomed to changing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree, and it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. The so was there? Did you feel like you were under a different set of rules running as a female candidate? Because I'm not sure if there were, how many other females were running for your
Um,
ticket. Were you the only
there
one?
were Yes, I was the only female, and
Okay.
I could say that yes, because they put in a male candidate on the same ticket, it it did say that they did not want a woman to represent totally in that position. If you feel a certain way about someone and you feel that they could do the job and they totally represent you, then I think I would have been the only one because um, they would have had enough, what do belief, I guess,
Yeah,
lack of
yeah.
a better word right now. But they would have believed, there we go, they would have believed that I could have carried it out better and I would have been the best person for that position. Instead
Gotcha.
of, hey, we might want a male in there, we don't want a female. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a male in that position because we think a male should be there.
Hmm. And that makes I see what you're saying, and that kind of makes sense. They're placing a female on the ballot to see what kind of votes you would garner, what kind of support you would get. But then also at the same token, let's bring in a male just in case because this is a patriarchy system in a sense.
Right.
People are used to voting for a male, especially in a out of the Republican Party. There's not that many
Mhm.
female Republicans in Congress. Altogether when you think about it, that's Republican anyways.
Right.
Not that many females. So it was, in a sense, to you, do you think they were just testing the waters with you in that regard?
I do. I do. I believe they were. I believe that the party was trying to figure out how to recover from all that was happening in the current administration. They didn't necessarily believe, although you saw and you still see a lot of women, Black women, women of culture in these positions. I think, yes, they were. They were trying to test it out, see what was going to stick, if this could be something that they could do. And, you know, probably next cycle or next election, they'll probably have a different mindset.
Okay, yeah, and you just witnessed Larry Elder's race for California governor, and
Yes, I did.
you saw the turmoil that he went through. You know, they
Yes.
called him the black face of the white supremacy and what have you. So the treatment of a black conservative was, you know, to the public was very denigrating versus had he been a black Democrat running, he probably would not have captured, you know, that kind of sentiment. So, did for you in your case, while you were on the campaign trail, did you experience anything as vile and vicious as that as he received?
I didn't because again, I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of time. I only had 2 months, which was great. Had I had 2 years, I probably would have experienced that. And I can say that, just because time alone. Um, I think what Larry did was bring some very positive things to the party, and understanding that we need to start looking at how we're going to move forward. Larry is a very wonderful person. He has, had a station in which he hosts a show. I'm sure he, um, let me, hopefully we're editing this, but he has been, excuse me, he's been on a show for the last 30 years and he's talked about politics. And he has had a great following. Everyone in the party loves him. Um, he and people pushed to get him on the ballot.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, if we could change this, we could probably change this dynamic with Larry Elder running, and let's see how we do with the male perhaps versus a female. So um, I'm just really, really grateful for the the action that he took to do that, and just committing to being a candidate in a race in, again, a special election.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
so I think in some ways it paved a way, and he pioneered a way for other people to come in as Black conservatives, if you will, or Black American conservatives. And there have been others in different races uh, in previous years that didn't win, that were strong contenders too. So I think that the party will probably go back and assess what has happened over the course of this past election, with the governor's race and then my race, and see if they could find a happy medium into bringing someone of color into a race and really support them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave Larry Elder all the support. They were really, really behind him. And he was more well known than I was, and I just came in. I only had 2 months, but I had sat on boards in the party. I had was part of the campaign, a presidential campaign, but yet I don't think I was at that point strong enough to carry it by myself because I was still kind of new.
Right. Okay. And that makes sense. Actually, I know what you mean with the name recognition and people actually seeing, okay, who is she? What is she about? And that's that short time frame. You only had 2 months, like you said, so it takes a while to build up that name recognition, to build up that platform, and for people to, you know, take the time to actually know you, get to know the candidate and everything else. And that's what you were faced with. So with that being said, now that you have had that experience, and now that you had that opportunity to see what it was like a little bit, are you planning to run in the next election?
You know, I don't know. I get a lot of people who definitely want me to run, and it because of my experience, I can't say that my experience is going to be the same going into another election. It probably won't. A, I'll have more time, and B, I'll have more knowledge, so I'll do better. Um, the thing that I experienced that I think the Democrats don't experience as much as we do is they have resources that we don't. And the belief of the Republican Party is that you you're passionate about politics. You have to earn their support. It's not like, oh, just because you're a Republican, we're going to do this. And in some cases, it is because when you vote, they're just, you know, if they see an R, they're going to vote. But you also have to earn, you know, your right to be there in essence, right? Because they put you through some things. You know, it's like boot camp.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I know better than
It's
most.
boot camp.
I got in that phone call. It's like, okay, you're running, but in order for us to even talk to you, you need to put up at least $10,000. It's like,
right,
okay,
right, and then
thank you for
two,
calling. Click.
right, and then also I was running in COVID. In a climate of COVID, what can you do in COVID? You can't go out and see people. You know, the traditional ways of running a campaign, you know, going out and seeing people, going to events, people talking to you, you being present, it was very difficult. Like I said, had I had the resources to for marketing, yeah, they would have seen my face just as much as they'd have probably seen my opponent's face, right? So that they could make a decision. And I don't believe even at that time that, you know, I was speaking the language of most people. What I mean by that is I was a different kind of person and politician. I just wanted to get, I mean, I still do. I want to give people options. I want to educate them first. And I want to present options and saying, whatever choice you make, understand why you made that choice based on the options that you have. You know, that's what I'm here to do. And I think in politics today, that's not what they do. They kind of tell you what to do, and then that's what you should do. Let me tell you what you should do. And I just don't believe in that. That's not my philosophy at all.
Yeah,
I believe
I have the
people
same
are
thing.
intelligent.
Yep, I do the same thing. You know, I teach people. You know, as I go along on this campaign, is whether you like me or not. Here's the information. Here's what you need to know. You know, and that's what I've been. That's what I was. That's what I have been doing with my campaign, and I just did it recently, showing. I sent out a spreadsheet of all of the legislative work that the incumbent has done in the last 5 years, and I highlighted like, hey, he, you know, introduced 185 bills, but only 8 got turned into law. He's been in office for 43
Mm-hmm.
years. 40, no, I'm sorry, 48 years. He's been in office for 48 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you still voting for this guy? So, you know,
Right.
because a lot of people don't know that stuff, you know, so you have to teach them along the way just to, you know, show that, you know, hey, you are the change agent candidate, and you're trying to bring something different and something new to this swamp, in a sense, you know, this theater, and people appreciate you for that. They may not still vote for you, but they was, you know, have your name and have your face in the back of their mind saying, you know, that person
Mm-hmm.
was being honest and trying to help
Mm-hmm.
us, and
Mm-hmm.
that you remember that way. But
Right.
Tiffany, we're gonna jump to a short commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna pick up on some more questions. And I like to call the second half the grill hour,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be fun. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
keep it locked
Can't
right here.
wait.
What's that?
I said I can't wait.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's gonna be fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Keep it locked right here. We'll see you in a couple minutes, And yeah, see you in a couple minutes.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Global Impact with David McQuell, your host. Isaiah chapter 2, verses 1 to 5 says that a time is coming when the church will rise in authority and influence and dominate the earth. And many nations will come and say, "Teach us the ways of the Lord." Global Impact is a show that inspires you as a Christian to rise up through the values of the kingdom of God and shine as light wherever you may be. We believe that missions is no longer limited to some isolated, unreached community in some dark continent. The church should reach out to all aspects of life, including politics, business, science and research, the media and diplomacy, and every aspect of human life. Join us on Global Impact, Monday through Friday, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 6 p.m. GMT. Global Impact is broadcast on TECNTV.com. Join us.
Everything that's reported on television isn't always true, but it should be. NTD, the power of truth. Now available 24/7 on television and streaming platforms.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.
Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, right before we went on break, we have a special guest with us, Tiffani Jones. She was a former senatorial candidate out of California, District 30, and we're discussing her campaign, her experiences and everything, what she went through, and this serves as a twofold project, if you will. So, for my, I guess you say, final presentation for my class, and I'm in the course right now, we're discussing, political candidates and their experiences based on, the intersectional apparatus of which they fall under. And so I thought about Tiffani and I said, "Oh man, she's perfect for this." And so I pinged her and asked her to come on and help me out with that. And so, but in the interim here, while I have your attention, your undivided attention, ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to check out Tiffani's show on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central, Beyond the Lines with Tiffani Jones. Phenomenal show. She has a series of different guests on the nights that she's airing that they talk about a host of different things, current topics and events. It's a great show, so please be sure to tune in to www.TECNTV.com. Beyond the Lines with Tiffani Jones, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to shut up now, because I'm sure y'all rather look at her than me.
Oh, God,
so
thank
you for sticking around, Tiffani. I'm glad you didn't bail out on me since I gave you the warno that we're going to have a grill session in the next segment here. So my next question to you is, while you were on the campaign trail, although it was short, you still out there beating the streets and talking to people and everything else. Did you find yourself having to present yourself differently than the male candidates, i.e., whether it was in dress, speaking, what have you? Did you find yourself having to do things differently as a woman versus as a man?
Quite honestly, I never thought about that. I just gave people my authentic self. If you liked me, you liked me. I had a whole different message than the person that was on the ticket with me. And I was talking about things that mattered in the community, because I'm supporting the community. I'm in the community. I'm dealing with issues in the community. We're going through COVID. I'm talking to pastors who are, experiencing an increase in deaths and what to do with the bodies and how to handle mental illness and depression and all kinds of things. So my focus really was like real time, what are we doing with people in that when I was running. So yes, I would talk about solutions. Yes, I would talk about the things that people wanted me to talk about. But for me, I was just in the middle of things and really bringing a different perspective. So whether anybody wanted me to talk about, fiscal responsibility, the normal traditional things that people talk about, that wasn't my platform. My platform was to talk about what was going on in the community and how we could better our community. The small businesses were suffering in the community. So I talked about small business empowerment as a topic or an issue, excuse me, on my platform because I had and still have friends who own businesses in the community that were, what do? We don't have the vaccine. How do we get the vaccine? All kinds of things. I mean, and then public safety, crime was increasing. So for me, it was different. It was real time experience versus what am I going to do in the future? And I think, that's how I ran my campaign. I mean, I didn't have any, I mean, what was I going to really talk about and how I'm going to fix things? I was just dealing with fixing things in real time and bringing solution in real time as if I was in office already.
Gotcha.
Because a lot of people would ask me, I get on shows and they'd say, oh, what do you think about this bill? What do you think about that bill? And, you know, every district is different. We're not all talking about the same things. Where some are talking about vaccination, we're talking about the increase in crime over in another district. So I had a variety of issues and a variety of things that I was dealing with. And I guess that was my approach to my campaign, which wasn't traditional at all in any sense.
Right. And that's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it was actually a very smart approach to your campaign was to talk about what's going on right now. What are you facing right now that I can take, to the state capitol and immediately begin working
Right.
on. Let's not talk about,
Mhm.
the everyday stuff that everybody's going through because that conversation is already going on in the capitol. And that's why we're here right now. That's why we're having a special election. That's why things are going on, right? And so that was very smart. Now, for District 30, where you reside, what is the demographical breakdown? If you remember, if you know off the top of your head, what does it look like in your district in terms of ethnic makeup, age, and all that good stuff?
Whoa. Okay. That's a question. Let me see if I can remember now. Because I still live in the district. We are very, very diverse. So um, you have a conservative group of people who are well-to-do in like, the Century City area. Um, you have the trendy, the up and coming, well-to-do in downtown, and then you also have other problems that associated with downtown, and that's the homeless situation. In the middle, like Culver City, that area, you have the tech people. And then, down below, and I won't say down below, but in South Los Angeles, you just have a different dynamic, which is culturally diverse. You have, a large Hispanic community as well as Black community. So there's a lot of people in the district itself, and it was very, very diverse. And of course, it was not every section had the same problems, or not even problems, or concerns, I will say.
Right.
So, like I said, some wanted to know more about the vaccination. Some people wanted to understand why the crime rate had increased and what we could do about that. Whether bringing on more police, it was crazy. It was a really crazy time, but um, the district itself is very diverse, but very, you have just a right array of people, educated, um, young,
Mm-hmm.
well-to-do, and then you have, just your average person who's, just going to work every day. I mean, everyone's going to work every day, but I mean, I guess, more businesses and small businesses in the district as well.
Okay. So when you say your area is diverse, what is the political leaning looks like for District 30? Was it more uh, left? Like, was it more Democrat leaning? Was it more Republican leaning? Was it evenly split? How did the political landscape look?
Believe it or not, we had more independents than we had Republicans or Democrats.
Okay.
And it was very, very interesting because a lot of people that I found that I talked to uh, really wanted to lean in the middle. They didn't want to lean to the right. They didn't want to lean to the left. They wanted just to stay in the middle to find a compromise and a neutral place. Politics is something that most people don't like to discuss anyway, politics and religion, right? So having understanding that people didn't want to do that, I think there was just a large group of people who, and still are, it's a growing group, people wanting to see change, people wanting to say, okay, let's stop the bickering, the arguing, let's come to a solution. How do we do that? I want to be neutral. I like some, things on the left. I like some of the policies and on the right. Um, how do we do that? So I saw just a large group of people in my district that were independent, more so than Democrats or Republicans. So, but we are a bipartisan country, right? So you can only vote Democrat or Republican.
For
You
now.
don't have, for now.
For now,
But
you're right.
it'll change, and that independent party, I think, will grow, expand enough to become a a party on the ballot, a
I agree with you.
recognized on the
I
ballot.
agree with you, and I'm seeing the same thing in my race right now, where I'm looking at the voter list, the breakout, and I'm seeing a large number of independent voters. Yeah, there's still your Democrats, Republicans, and undecided, and even the undecided is classified under the independent umbrella, and so it was kind of an eye opener for me because I being
Hmm.
that Alaska is a bright red state, in terms of its voting track record, but at the same token, currently right now being as a split state legislature, it's kind of leaning in a purple direction. So, but all in all, the votership there is still red. And so I find that dynamic to be interesting, and you just kind of confirmed the same thing that I was thinking, that a lot of we're thinking that a area should lean a certain way based on geography. California, we all know California is royal blue, and you look at the little spots on the map. There's a couple of red pockets in there. Maybe somebody got stabbed and it just kind of bled a little bit, and so that's how it looks. But like you said, it's turning to more of an independent sector of California, and then you have a lot of Californians leaving California and coming to places
True.
like Texas and Florida and everything else. So they're transplanting their politics in a sense, or they're trying to get away from the politics and they're looking for that bipartisanship, that bipartisan mindset, like you mentioned, in Texas and in Florida, because those are more conservative leaning states, but they're more tolerable to, our coastal brothers and sisters who tend to lean, far right, or it could be moderate in a sense, So I thank you for that point. Now, in California, and particularly Los Angeles. I was in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, and I totally understand the homeless situation, and also the 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 lifestyle that people tend to like to live in the Los Angeles area. Because when I was there, it was just like all over the place. I was just like, wow, okay, this is L.A., Hollywood, and all that good stuff. So I wanted to ask you: have you seen um, any candidates in the LBGTQ community plus community run in any races that you are aware of, or were they part of your race? And if so, uh, what was their treatment like? If you know.
I believe that there are more people that run for positions that are a part of that group than not. And everybody makes their lifestyle choices, and that's great. More power to them to be happy in that sense.
Right.
So you do see a large number. You see quite a bit, quite a bit. Whether it is known or not is another question. I mean, that's another thing. That's another issue. Um, but for the most part, there are some, there are those that run and that are part of that community that run for office, and some that are in office. And I'm sure that, that speaks to, well, to the community at large. But I don't think it's that people know, I don't, I don't think it's like a candidate or someone in office comes out and directly says that, except for Caitlyn Jenner in the governor's race. That was like the first time that we ever dealt with that, where somebody came out and said, you know, everybody understood who she was or who she is, and um, embraced that.
Right.
I think if you were anything other, you might support issues that support the community, but it's not like anybody comes out and says, "I am." I don't, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't, especially in politics, don't come out and say that. I mean, it was just a special circumstance with Caitlyn Jenner that we began to see it. But in general, that no one comes out and says, "I am." Some people
Okay.
do, some people don't, but the majority know.
Okay. Let's run down that rabbit hole real quick, real briefly about Caitlyn Jenner. So she came out
Right.
and said, I'm running for governor," right? And looking at the poll numbers and everything else, she at first was up there, like I think she ticked right at 5%, and then all of a sudden, as Larry Elder started gaining steam, she went down that ladder real quick to 1%. What, in your opinion, was the cause of that? Was it because she was transgender, or she came out as running as a transgender, or was it because of her stance on issues? What do you think was the reason, or if you talk to people about it, what have people in the streets been telling you?
I believe it was a strategic move to in the party to get votes from that community.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
because we didn't have it, you know what I mean? They don't come out and support that, right?
Right.
But I guess if you have someone who is authentic about who they are and wants to run for office, then by all means. And I think that that was a good move strategically if that's where you were going to get some of those, people in that group to vote. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any of those votes in that group because coming from the traditional sense as a traditional candidate, you know, you're not going to get that. You're just not. You're not going to be able to persuade other voters, in that group. So I think that's what it was. I think that which was a good strategy. If you look at it strategically, it was good. It was a good move so that we can move into that section without really embracing it, so to speak. I mean, people supported Caitlyn Jenner. Whether you believed in that or not, it was just like, hey, this is a strategic move. Um, but again, she was pioneering a way for other people like her to come into politics, to come into other areas,
Yeah.
industries.
Go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done. But I think
I started thinking out
some
loud.
people, I know some people were like, uh, they fought with that idea. They questioned the idea. There was a lot of conflict surrounding it. But again, as a strategic move to get votes in that community, that was what I looked at it as. Because it's like, okay, so you Republican, conservative, how does this work? Because they had 30 people running for governor. 30
Yeah.
for
And that
governor.
was my question. Like, I was wondering, I was the fly on the wall, not in the room, but it was like, okay, you got a transgender Republican running in
Mm-hmm.
California. How does that work? Then that's what I was thinking about that as well. Just like you said, people. It was a strategic move to say, okay, because there are people in the LGBTQ community that are in the conservative movement right now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's perfectly fine. But once again, it's that for the traditional conservatives and traditional Republicans, they kind of like take pause at that. They look at that like, yeah, that's kind of a conflict of interest in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean. So, especially those that are the Bible thumping, God fearing, church going, they look at that and they
Mm-hmm.
say, can't, I can't accept that. I can't, embrace that. So now I have to drop my conservative moniker and go independent, and I can only
Mm-hmm.
support the values and the planks, if you will, the platform that upholds what I believe in. But this right here, I can't support.
Right.
Is that
But
what
I
is that what California was seeing?
I would say, based on the people that I know in the party and the people that I've come to know, you do have a group that's strongly that way.
Yeah.
Very conservative. You know, leaving Bibles in people's homes after an event. Uh,
Got
and
baptismal pool in the trunk in the trunk of the car.
almost, I'm just saying. I mean, I
I
dealt
seen
with
it.
one,
I
and
know.
we had to, on an event. I was just like, not everybody's going to think the same way.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you can believe in God, and I think that's great. I think that people, but just don't impose your beliefs on other people. Like, don't say that you're going to hell because you don't believe the same way that I do.
Right. Right. I
I
agree.
think that, we should all respect each other as human beings, and bottom line, that's it. And when you see that and you see people who are so adamant about it has to be this way, then you lose that group of people that you're thinking will, like support you, um, in a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think, like I said, it's fine. I said, but everyone needs to be who they are and be that, but have respect for other people.
Yep.
Bottom line.
Absolutely. Spot on. Spot on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're talking to Tiffany Jones, host of Beyond the Lines with Tiffany. airs Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 p.m. Eastern on TECNTV.com. Please go over and check her out. And keep in mind our Reach One campaign, where you check out one or all of our shows, Monday through Friday, and you can see what we're doing, what we're talking about, and all that good stuff. And you will enjoy what you're watching, leave feedback, and all that good stuff. Now, Tiffani, I'm gonna open the floor up to you to tell our viewers, where they can find you, where they can contact you if they want to be a guest on your show, or reach out and say, hey, I want to donate $5 trillion to your next campaign because you're just super awesome like that.
Goodness.
And we're going to violate all federal election laws because I don't care, because you're a super awesome person. Tell us where we can find you and how to get in contact with you.
Thank you. You can get in touch with me, beyondthelinestv.show.com. You can go there and look at the site, and Beyond the Lines TV show at gmail.com is where you can contact me if you would like to do anything, connect with me, connect with the show. Randy, you always put me on the spot. You and Ken. I love you guys. But I think this was the hardest thing for me to do as a candidate, was to talk about myself. I love hearing about other people. I love hearing about their experiences. So you putting me on the spot is definitely getting me out of the box of, I can't talk about myself, right? I'm a host of this show. I should be saying something about it, right?
It takes some getting used to.
Also,
I'll tell you that, because I hate talking about myself too. But more and more you do it, kind of just you start to become narcissistic with it. You just kind of get cocky. You just
no,
like,
no, we're not
this,
narcissistic.
and you just get used to it. You're just like, okay, all right.
No, we're not, never narcissistic. We're always authentic, genuine, and just care about people. And I just think that, when you look at examples in the Bible, since you bring up conservative Christians,
Yep.
that it's about living the example for me. It's not about me telling you who I am, what I do. For so long I didn't talk about myself like that, but I did move in a different way within the community, and I helped people, and that's great. But I know that the time has come, Randy, for me to talk a little bit more about myself and my show. But I really, really, I have to say, I am so appreciative when I got the call from Ken Clinton, who is the founder of TECNTV.com. He was so supportive. I couldn't even have chosen a better network to be on. Everybody, including yourself. I had John Euler on. I'm going to have Gary Young on, or excuse me, not Gary, Greg. Greg Young on, Pastor Greg Young. Well, you guys always know that I'm going to say something. You guys all know I'm going to say something. I'm going to either,
Right.
It's going to be something. I'm not, hey, if no one's perfect, as they say, right? So I'm just as human as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's a good trait, right? But again, this family, this unity on the network is something that you don't see anywhere else. And if I had gotten a call from somewhere else, I don't know how I would have taken it. But just to be a part of TECN TV network and our partnership with NTD network as well, ntd.com, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. It's everything that I have hoped, desired, wished for many years ago. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited. I just want to bring to the people the truth, the authenticity of other people, genuine people, legends. We're going to be talking about everything. Yes, we're going to be talking about politics. Maybe we'll have girls where we're just talking about politics, and maybe men or whatever. But this is going to be, my show is going to be about anything and not anything and everything, but you know, it's going to be entertaining. It's at the end at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I mean, people want to like kind of relax, enjoy. I mean, you guys beat them up before I get to them. You guys are very intense. I won't say beat them up.
Yes.
You guys just bring it in a different way, and I'm just here to balance it all out.
Yes,
That's all.
You bring great balance, and we thank you for that.
I mean, you guys are. I mean, your topics are great.
Yeah, thank you. We try. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffani Jones, once again, thank you for participating in our shenanigans today. Once again,
Shenanigans. I thought this was a real interview.
It is. It was. Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can find Tiffani once again on Beyond the Lines with Tiffani Jones Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern Time at TECN.tv.com. We want to thank you for tuning in, and sorry about that. Hold on. And you can catch me as always on Mondays and Fridays at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Most of y'all at work, or you're doing something better than listening to me jaw jack, so you catch me on the back end, which I appreciate that as well. So with that being said, you can catch my shows on BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube at rperm. Follow me on Twitter, Gab, MeWe, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn at rperm, on Facebook as well. We live stream on Facebook also at the new. Now we put the new TECN TV on Facebook. And with that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Be safe out there. God bless you all. And we'll see you when you see you. Take it easy and enjoy.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservativeshow.com.